and welcome to my first ever monthly wrap-up. Yay! If you haven't seen my vlogs, I said in one of them that I wanted to get more involved with all this like booktuber thing because I really like reading. So I thought because I'm a really slow reader, I don't read that much in 1 month. But I wanted to do this kind of wrap-up thing anyway, so I'm now gonna do a wrap-up at the end of every month with not only the books I've read, but also with the movies I've watched. So now here's the October wrap-up, and let's just get started, shall we? So first off, I finished Splintered from A.G. Howard. This is a trilogy. I also just found out there are some books like that take place in between the 3 books. It's an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, which I really love. And this book was so awesome. Like, it was quite hard to read because there are many different styles of language. Like there's the mystical fairy tale-y language in Wonderland itself, and then there's also like the skater slang. But yeah, anyways, this is about Elissa, who is granddaughter of Alice in Wonderland, and her mother is in a mental health clinic because she has these things like she talks with animals and plants, and she just behaves really Wonderland-like. And Elissa obviously doesn't believe that because she doesn't want to believe it, and she's scared that she'll become crazy like her mother. But then she finds out that Wonderland actually is really real. And she finds a way to go into Wonderland. Thing is, it isn't quite the way we know it from the fairy tale. I have to say it was quite scary and creepy at some parts. So if you're scared of like skeleton rabbits, for example, probably trigger warning here because there are some really creepy parts in it. But it's so well written, and just I'm so looking forward to reading the next book. But because that was quite hard to read, as I said, and I'm a really slow reader anyways, I wanted to read something like more simple afterwards. So I read Love Letters to the Dead, and yes, it was from the style of writing, it was really simple because it is about Laurel who gets this English assignment to write a letter to a dead person. And her sister died a year ago, or roughly a year ago, but she doesn't write to her sister. Instead, she writes to her sister's favorite artists to tell them kind of about how she deals with her sister being dead. She also tells these dead popular people about how high school starts and how she tries to fit in. And yeah, it was, as I said, it was quite simple from the writing style because it really were letters. I loved that about it. So it really, there was like no narrator and no dialogue really, but it was all just letters. But on this simple, in the simple way, it was so emotional because obviously it's a really emotional theme. And there's so many things that she didn't expect, or at least I didn't expect them, and there's so many like more stories than just the story of her sister dying. So many more problems that are involved in this. So that was really lovely. Also, I have my Goodreads link down below, and for this one I actually did a short list with like a short summary of who the people she writes to are. Because some of them we all know, like Kurt Cobain, Heath Ledger, all these people, but there were some people that I've never heard of before, and she often talks about their childhood and how their childhood and their problems kind of are parallel to hers. But I looked up all of them, and there were some really interesting stories about them. And then also for kind of light lecture, I reread not all of it, but some parts of Conor Fender's work in progress. This is Conor Fender's life story in short chapters, and each chapter has like a general theme. So it is kind of chronological for his life, but also ordered in like love life and inspiration and creativity and problems and like these general themes. So it's really nice. Also, there are awesome pictures in here. Let me just show you the one picture. So it's really great for if you want to have some sort of advice or some sort of short story about a general theme that maybe affects you in your life at the moment, because you can just go to that one chapter and read his story about that. So I did that like every evening. I looked up one little thing that affected me that day and just read the chapter for that. And that was really, really nice, because it just, he has a way to write that makes it seem like he's talking to you, because he writes down what he thinks and what he would say. So it's really like having a conversation with him. On to the movies. For the first movie I've watched, I actually don't have the DVD because I've watched it in cinema with the girl that's living upstairs, and it was called The Farewell Party. Now this movie is about elderly people who are about to die and who are like in hospital, and it was quite a problematic movie, I'd say. We also had quite a lot of discussions about it afterwards, but it's about this little group of elderly people who probably have been friends their whole life, and they're all about to die and they know it. They some of them have some diseases, and some of them are starting to forget things, which always is really, really sad. But this movie had such a kind of humorous way to show it, because they all just made fun of it, like, yeah, we're old, yeah, we're forgetting things. And then on the other side, there is one of them who really is about to die, and is kept alive by machines. And his wife asked them for help because he doesn't want to live anymore. So they build this machine with which he can kill himself without it hurting. And that is really problematic. And you have, in this movie, you have the problematic side, and you have the people who disagree and who think it's murder. And then on the other hand, you have the people who say he didn't want to live anymore, and it was only getting harder and harder for him. So we helped him. If you are in any way interested in that theme and on that discussion, you should definitely watch that movie, because I think it gives you another perspective on things. The second movie is this one, which I've got from my parents for moving in. It's called With Love from the Age of Reason. It's a French movie. And I didn't want to watch it at first because I thought it would be like really French and I normally don't really like French movies that much. I think they're like too fast and too, yeah, I can't really explain it. But anyways, I did watch it in the end, and it's so cute. Margaret, who's a grown up, and then she gets letters sent from her past self, I think from like her 10-year-old self or something, where her 10-year-old self tells her what she thinks her grown-up self should be like. Also retells her childhood story, which was quite tragic. They didn't have money, the father left, all these things. And Margaret thinks that right now she's in a really happy point in her life, like she has a great job, she earns a lot of money, she has a great husband, and then she starts getting these letters from her past self and realizes that she is not at all what her past self wanted her to be. Not at all. And she starts questioning her life. I also really like this movie because obviously I'm now living in another city, I'm going to uni, I have to kind of leave my past not completely behind, but have to move on. And I think With Love from the Age of Reason is a great movie to teach you how to move on, but not lose yourself in the process of that. And the other movie was Oz the Great and Powerful, another fairy tale adaptation. And a really, really good one, I have to say. Like, the story itself, I think the story itself moved a bit too fast, I have to say. There was some parts where I thought, okay, they could have slowed that down. But in general, when does it take place? I don't know, it takes place in the past. The past with like black and white movie past, which is a great thing about the movie because it starts in black and white and then it becomes colorful and yeah. But anyway, there's this guy called Oz who lives in our world, and he's a magician in the circus. But it doesn't really work well for him because people start to realize that magic isn't real. Of course, magic is real. What are you talking about? But yeah, he has some trouble, and then to kind of escape this trouble, he gets into that hot air balloon, comes into this big storm, wakes up, lands, is in Oz. Surprise! And everything is colorful as well, because before it was black and white. But anyways, he lands in Oz. He's found by this girl who's a witch and who tells him that he is the one they've been waiting for, the one to save Oz. And she says, you could have a lot of money when you become king. He's kind of arrogant, he's kind of an asshole. At the beginning, of course, he changes and blah. Yeah, so, and at the moment her sister is queen, and but she doesn't believe that he's the big magician. And she tells him that she can only believe him and only make him king and get him all the money if he kills the evil witch. So he goes on this quest to kill the evil witch to get the money. There isn't like a deeper meaning so much, and there also, yeah, as I said, I think the story is moving quite fast in some parts, but it's just a really funny movie. Also, if you watch it, you also have to see the making of, because it's just, most of it is just green screen, and it's just so funny watching them in front of this green screen and like doing their magic show and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just a really funny adaptation of this original movie. It wasn't like my favorite version of it, but it was really, it had some really like great new aspects to it. And the last movie I've watched, also don't have the DVD for that because I've watched it with my flatmate. It's kind of a funny story, which I wanted to watch for so long and never really got my hand on it. So now I've seen it and it's so good. It's so good. I'm sorry I forgot all the names of the people. Just not great with names, but there is the main character, and he's a teen and he's depressed and a bit of suicidal, so he goes into a health clinic. Doesn't really want to be there. He thinks all these people are so crazy, I don't belong here. But then he starts to meet these people and he starts to talk to these people, and he learns about their stories, and it's so touching, it's so sweet how he starts to recognize that they're all just a little bit crazy and they all have their problems, but that's normal, that's okay. And of course you sometimes need to get help, and it's good that he does get help, but they aren't like crazy people, they are just a little bit crazy people. It was a really great movie for like seeing another perspective on depression, because, and like other mental illnesses as well, because normally it's shown as this dark, bad, scary thing, and like we don't want to have to do anything with like mental illnesses, but this movie kind of showed that it's just another part of who you are. It doesn't like define you, and you can get help and you can like control it. So it was I mean, I did cry a lot. But it was just, yeah, a great movie. You should watch it. Also, really great cinematography. Like there's this part where you kind of go into his drawings, and it's amazing. So yeah, watch it. um, that was my books falling down. Great. But anyways, that was all I read and watched in October. If you want to, you can let me know down in the comments what you've read and watched. Or if you've seen any of these movies or read any of these books, let me know what you thought. I hope you always have a reason to smile, and I will see you soon. Goodbye!